Hello, everyone. This is the iPhoneography podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Greg McMillan, and it is Monday, October the 11th, and it is Thanksgiving Day here in Canada. So happy Thanksgiving to all the Canadian listeners and watchers. I'd like to start off by just doing a little bit of an update or State of the Union or whatever you want to call it for the show. Just because things have been, evolving. Of course, as you know, there has been some changes, and it's going to continue to change as time goes on, I think. Um, we started out with just an audio only show, but with the addition of the YouTube channel, and we did that because, we talk about stuff, we're talking about a visual medium here in photography. So I thought, well, it's better to show you what we're talking about than it is just to try to explain it verbally. So, well, with the addition of the YouTube channel, I've decided to change the name of the whole thing to the iPhoneography Podcast Network. That way, the YouTube channel is part of it, the audio podcast is part of it, and it kind of opens the door for future things, like future content down the road, whether it's more different shows or what. But if somebody approaches me and has an idea for something that would fit the network, there's that possibility. So that's why I changed it to the iPhoneography Podcast Network. So I hope that clears up any confusion that that might have come about when viewing the stuff on audio or video. So because it's Thanksgiving, I have a few thanks I want to pass out. First of all, I want to thank you, the listeners and the viewers. If it wasn't for you, this wouldn't even be possible. I wouldn't even be here, and I would probably be pretty bored. So thanks for listening and for tuning in. It's appreciated more than you know. I want to thank Dave Podner for his continued support, his friendship, his everything that he brings to the show. And I also want to thank our wives, Ruth and Dave's wife, Ruth, and my wife, Gail, for putting up with us through all this. We're just like a couple of kids playing around all the time, and they're pretty supportive in what we do. The YouTube channel is doing pretty good. I just checked. It has 114 subscribers. That's a far cry from about maybe 16 I had 2 or 3 months ago. So I want to thank all the new subscribers for tuning in and for supporting us that way. Special thanks to David Addison, because he has just come on board and with his own show, but on the network, and he's just a refreshing addition to the network. And I really appreciate everything that he's doing. He's putting out some pretty cool stuff, and don't forget that he does have his own channel. So go check that out and support him that way too. But thanks to David for coming on board. So now it makes things a little confusing for me because I have Dave and David. That's so if I'm talking about Dave Podner, it's Dave. David Addison is David, and that's how I keep them, figured out and who I'm talking about. So that's just a quick little update as to what's happening with the channel and the network and everything else now. So it continues to evolve, it continues to grow, and I'm still learning about stuff like this myself, like when it comes to the channel, like the YouTube stuff, and I'm constantly trying to figure out how to make it better, and with the editing and all that stuff. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that's supporting us and whatnot. It just makes it that much more fun. Okay, so let's get on with it. Tonight we have my co-host Dave Podner, and we have a guest with us who is no stranger to the podcast, and I'm sure you will all know who he is. But Matt Hoffman. Hey guys, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on the show tonight.
Yeah, glad to have you. So we are going to talk about something that's been in the news in the iPhoneography space anyway over the last week or so, and that's Halide's new update that includes a macro mode. And Dave, I don't think you're much of a Halide user really, but you haven't played with it yet, eh?
I have, yeah. Actually, I
Oh, you
have.
have. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. When
okay.
I saw the teaser that the Halide folks started to say, "Hey, we have big news coming up," I'm like, "Okay, that's sounds interesting." I did the 7-day free trial,
Oh, okay.
so and
Super.
that is yeah, yeah. So that is one thing to mention is Halide is a paid subscription only app. It's a reasonable price though. I think it's $12 a year for the US, or you can just buy it outright for I think like $20 to $30 somewhere around there.
Yeah, and then you get
Uh,
like free upgrades for life or whatever. Yeah.
right, right. So I just did the 1 week free or one. Yeah, I think it's like 1 week free trial if you sign up for a month, just to give
Okay,
it a
cool.
try out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tried it a little bit. My problem with Halide is the same problem I have with every manual type app. I it's um what's the term I'm looking for here? Basically, I'm paralyzed by options.
Oh,
The
yeah.
fact
Okay.
that you can, oh, I can adjust this and I can adjust this and I can do this and oh, and I can move this over here and I can move this with, and all of a sudden I'm making 15 different adjustments and it's not turning out as good as it did before I made the adjustment. So I
Yeah.
know it's just a matter of the learning curve and getting used to, instead of doing the automated and laying the, making making minor tweaks here and there, where how I can give you a lot of different options. And they have some really great tutorials, which I have not taken the time to actually do. But yeah, that's why really I haven't played with it much. I have tried it out with some of the macro mode. So I have tried
Okay.
some of that out and tried to do that comparing to my normal fallback for macro camera plus two.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, listeners and viewers know that I have an iPhone 13 Pro on order, and not yet. We're assuming sometime next week, per Apple and their little delivery little chart. So hopefully by the time the next podcast comes out, I will have the 13 Pro and be able to play with their built-in macro feature in addition to the Halide and the Camera Plus 2, and do a kind of a comparison between all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be interesting. So Matt, I texted you last week and asked you if you were interested in coming on to talk about this. And at that time, you didn't realize there was an update, but then you put it in. And so over the weekend, any first impressions?
Um, I don't know what to say about it, honestly. So at first, like when I saw you say something, and I guess I'm really like out of tune. I haven't been on too much on social media and stuff, so I missed their little teases and whatnot. But in any case, I thought there was going to be like something about it that like only Halide could bring. Like they figured out a way to shoot in macro and have the output be like raw or pro raw or something like that. So I got really excited about it for that, right? And unfortunately, that's not really what it does. Um, it really kind of behaves essentially like Camera Plus 2. Um, so I played with it this weekend, and I'll show some pictures in a little bit here or whatever. What I should have done if I was thinking about this more, I should have taken a shot with Halide and then taken a shot with Camera Plus 2. The same shot to compare them. I didn't do that. I just had like Halide on and just snapped away, a whole bunch of flowers and bugs and stuff, and had fun with it. I will say, so I've never been disappointed with Camera Plus 2 and the results that I've gotten from it. I've always been impressed with it. But looking at what I was able to capture with Halide, like the magnification's the same, right? It's the exact same macro ratio or whatever as you would get, with Camera Plus 2. So it's not doing anything different there. But man, the pictures look great. They look really, really good. Like the the bokeh or depth of field. Let's call it depth of field. It's not really bokeh. The
Yeah.
depth of field it's a really nice transition. It doesn't look um, artificial. It doesn't look like computational or anything like that. It looks very natural. And then the in focus part. I mean, I'm just pretty amazed with the amount of detail that it's capturing. So um, I have a feeling that Camera Plus 2 very shortly will not be on my phone anymore because I didn't use it other than for macro mode. Halide has a place in my home row on my phone.
Yeah.
So if it can do as good or better than Camera Plus 2, then why do I need Camera Plus 2? Sorry, Camera Plus 2, but um,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, I do like it. I thought the results I got were I'll show you the pictures. They're not like the most amazing pictures you've ever seen by any stretch. They're more
Yeah.
just like, let me find some things that make sense to take pictures of in macro mode and flowers and bugs.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Let's have a look.
All right, let me share my screen here and let's see here.
Oh,
All right.
neat.
Okay, can you guys see this?
Yep.
You guys see the pink flowers?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. So on this shot, these flowers are not real big, and on this particular shot, I was really more just testing, like, how close can I get, um, and I think I could have gotten actually a little tiny bit closer. In fact, I did, but the wind started blowing like crazy, so the shot was blurry, but it was from movement, not from being too close. Um, but let me move on to the next picture because I feel like this one, for some reason, this one really kind of knocks my socks off with like the amount of detail and like how sharp it is. And I should note too that all these pictures I'm going to show you, none of them are edited or cropped or anything. These are just straight out
Okay.
of the
Cool.
the camera or whatever. But I just feel like there's a really nice amount of detail in that shot, and it's really sharp. And then the way that it falls out of focus behind it, I feel like it
Yeah.
looks pretty natural. It's not as good as like I have this uh, Nikon 60 millimeter micro lens, and that thing is absolutely amazing for for macro type photography. It doesn't this doesn't hold a candle to that, but in a pinch, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Now,
Matt,
just for go ahead, Dave.
I was say, Matt, just to remind everyone, which phone do you have, just so people know the phone that you're working off of.
Sure, I'm shooting on the iPhone 12 Pro Max.
And I was going to say, could you give us an idea of how big that flower is, or when you took it there? Like,
This
would it be
guy
like?
here, I don't know, like in your part of the world, it's probably like 2.5 centimeters across.
So that's just almost an inch then.
Yeah,
Like 2.5 centimeters is roughly an inch.
yeah,
Okay, so that's a fairly small flower then, and
yeah.
that brings it up nice and close. Now, was that the 2x or the 3x? Do you recall when you took that? Because I guess there's three different settings
Well,
in macro mode, and I don't think it's in
uh,
the EXIF data.
Yeah, that I didn't know. So, I don't know if you guys could. I assume you could see the whole window here. So the EXIF data is
Yeah.
on the right side of the screen there, and it's showing a focal length of 5.1 millimeters, um, which I honestly don't know how it got to that.
Yeah. I'm
So
not
yeah,
sure.
I don't know how it's doing what it's doing, but
Yeah. Okay.
it's showing a f number of 1.6. So I don't know if you guys know which lens it would be using based off of that.
That's the wide, just the regular wide lens. So it's the
Okay.
one that's got the best aperture. It's the main camera lens, I guess, of the iPhone. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I also think that if it was using the ultra wide, well, I don't know because I don't exactly know how it works. So I don't know if it's cropping, a bunch of stuff out or whatever, or how
Well,
it's doing it. But
I was going to get into how it all works after we look at your photos here. But
okay.
one thing I will say is that it always uses the wide camera.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. Um, yeah, again, this shot just to show, sharpness and detail, but also
Hmm.
you could kind of see, how quickly the focus falls off as well.
Yeah.
But I really like, the tip of this leaf and the few little curves, the first few curves of the edge of the leaf. I just love the sharpness of it and everything. And you could see all the little hairs and everything. And I'm just pretty amazed by what this can capture.
Now we're still on the pink flowers here. Are you still on that one?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
In fact,
oh, my
your
screen
mouse
sharing
pointer.
is paused. Why is it paused? Resume share. Okay. I'm very sorry about that.
Oh,
Can you see it
no
now?
worries. So can we go back to the white flowers then? There we go.
Yeah,
Oh, that's neat.
that's what I've been talking about like almost the whole time is this picture.
Oh, okay. We were still on the pink one. At least I was. I don't know
Uh,
about you, Dave.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'm not
Well,
sure
I
what
was
happened
also
there.
on the pink flowers, and I was like, well, I can see where the focus kind of falls off, like you were saying, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't see. I'm looking, missing the green part here. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong part of the picture. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I
No, it's
apologize.
all good. We're caught up
I
now.
don't know what happened there. Cool.
But yeah, that
Um,
focus fall off is really neat.
yeah, yeah, I think it looks, it looks really good. It's not like I don't know, it's not like smudgy or weird. It looks
It
acceptable
almost looks
for what
natural.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Okay,
this is the
cool.
one I was just talking about with the leaf, again to
Yeah.
kind of show off, how sharp it is and again, as we kind of move back the leaf, the focus fall off and everything. But I love, the little hairs that it was able to capture and
Yeah, yeah.
um, there's just a ton of detail. And again, I didn't do anything to these, so they're not sharpened or
Hmm.
there's no structure or anything like that applied. So um, now this one here, um, this one I really like. And you do see purple flowers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you know what? This exact flower is one of the first things I took a picture of when I got my iPhone 6s, and they had that deep trench isolation between the pixels, and it made it so sharp. I was so impressed with it, but I digress. But yeah, I mean, this is uh, with a flower like this, with the petals that are so small and thin, it's a good way to see how clear this Halide gets these things when there's such fine detail in even the petals, let alone the center of the flower.
Yeah, and another thing, if people are thinking like, geez, I really want to try this macro stuff. I mean, we've talked about macro a million times on this show and Tiny Shutter and everything, but
Hmm.
flowers are obviously, they're fun to shoot in macro, and flowers like this in particular, where you have all those little stamen in the middle, the parts with the pollen on them.
Yeah.
That just looks so cool, and there's so many like different ways you can shoot it to show it off and really, just make it look pretty awesome. And obviously I didn't really go crazy here because I was just kind of quickly testing this out, but if I could spend more time, it'd be fun to like maybe do some lighting on these and some different angles and stuff, and really get creative. And it's
Hmm.
it's nice being able to do this stuff with the iPhone, since it's so easy to move it around, versus
Yeah.
a DSLR or mirrorless camera or something. I'm going to skip a couple of these pictures here, but here's just a rose. Yeah, this one's a little better. I think this picture, the wind was blowing real hard, so it's a little softer. Um, but again, really nice color, really nice detail. Um, Now we're going to move into bugs. I hope
Nice.
everybody likes bugs. Happened to find a grasshopper in my yard.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
Not the greatest picture. It totally just blends in with the grass. Um,
But you were able to
but
get the grasshopper in focus.
yeah. So this was actually a challenging shot. It took me actually a few attempts to get this one, because the grasshopper was like, "What are you doing?" And it kept like hopping slash flying away. But also it was very sunny out, and it was actually hard for me to see the screen, and I had focus peaking on. And so
Hmm.
like, because of the grass and everything that's in focus, there was, and I have my focus peaking color set to green. Um, the screen was just like this mess of green, and I really had a hard time distinguishing like what was grass and what was the grasshopper. um, so this shot took like a few attempts to get. um, yeah, it was challenging to say the least. um,
Yeah,
Oh, and
that's
Matt,
cool.
before you move off on that, let's say the now, are those on the side of the grasshopper's legs? Do you remember if they were patterned or are they grooves, the little black
the little
stripe?
black things,
Yeah,
um, those are
I don't know that from.
tattoos. Those are tattoos. That's where it marks its kills.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I thought
it's
maybe
like
you were
a
gonna
like
say it was a biker grasshopper.
it's like a World War II fighter plane. um, Honestly, Dave, I have no idea.
Okay, yeah, it just the little details like that. I mean, it's one thing to pick up the head and the antennae and the eyes and everything, but especially on the side of the body, like you
But
said.
even the wings,
Oh
you
yeah,
could
Yeah,
see the
yeah, the
detail in the
wings is
wings, the
cool.
pattern in
yeah.
the wings too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's
cool.
pretty cool. Um, some We went for a hike, and in the on the sidewalk in the parking lot at the place we went to, there was this caterpillar going across the parking lot, and this was another one where I actually had no idea whatsoever if this shot had turned out or not, because I really couldn't see the screen because it was so bright out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that the caterpillar's in the frame there. Hopefully, it's in focus. And it's almost not. It's like literally like at the edge of like where everything starts falling out of focus.
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the one thing I
Um,
noticed when playing around with it, that the slightest movement of the phone really, amplifies the movement, or exaggerates the movement on the screen. So
yeah,
it's kind of tough
and
to work with at times, but
I'll demonstrate that here with I'm going to skip the next picture and move on to this series of three that all look the same here. Um, but so this is a milkweed seed pod with some sort of weird bugs on it, right? And you can kind of see how the bugs, like, closest uh, to us are out of focus, and the bug furthest away is in focus.
mhm.
It's such a narrow slice of focus, like when you're shooting macro, and the seed pod is angled from right to left, like moving away from you, right in this frame. Okay, so that in a way it like narrows the focus even more, and I kind of realized that, so I moved slightly, and like in this shot, you could kind of see like the bugs as a whole are more in focus, but still not perfect. So then I think in this shot, I moved ever so slightly a little bit more. And this time I got pretty much all the bugs in focus.
Yeah, yeah, it looks good.
You know, well, it looks
Yeah,
gross is what
that's
it looks like, but it's all in focus.
excuse me. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, a lot of bugs do look gross, but interesting, good find. I mean, just spotting that alone is was probably a bit of a challenge, but no, I think you nailed it on the third shot by just adjusting your angle and getting them all, in pretty decent focus anyway. Yeah.
One last shot here, and I have to credit my son with finding this. Um,
Ooh.
Found this cool spot. So actually, we found it like this. So this is the top of the spider, this weird light yellow part. And at first we thought it was dead. It was just kind of like on this piece of grass, but its web was there, like kind of behind it, sort of. And I took this picture, and then I pretty much just wanted to run away because I don't like spiders. And I think my wife was like flicking the piece of grass to see if the spider would move, because we actually didn't know if it was alive or dead. And we thought it moved, but we weren't real sure. So then I was like, let's just leave it alone and keep hiking. I hate spiders. So we ended up coming back by it, like probably almost an hour later, and it had moved to the center of its web, and it caught something and was spinning it up here.
Oh,
So
neat.
that's the black with the yellow pattern. That's its belly, pretty much. Um, and then it's got, I don't know, some kind of bug it's wrapping up in its spider web of death.
Mm. Yeah. Oh,
But I mean,
it's
this was a reasonable sized spider. Probably literally about as big as it appears in this picture.
Oh, really?
Well, I guess that's relative to how big you're viewing the picture, but
Yeah.
from the the long legs from tip to tip, from front to back. I mean, probably close to 2 inches, I bet.
Well, okay, but on my screen it's more like about 4.
Okay, yeah, it
So
wasn't that big.
when you said it's life size, I thought that must be one big honking spider.
No. Okay, it wasn't that big. Yeah.
But no, those are amazing. I wish I had been able to get shots like that in my experiments, and you'll see what I come up with after here. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I just don't get out and hike enough or whatnot. I was out driving around doing fall colors rather than looking around for stuff to take macro shots of. But yeah, those are really good. Dave, did you get any images that you want to share with us, or?
Not really. No, there was
Okay.
just because of my getting around is kind of limited. And the shots I tried to take weren't they were like, I tried taking a couple shots of the wicker furniture that we have on our back porch, and this is actually, Ruth got a better macro shot with her 13, well, just an up close shot, not a macro, of some frost in the refrigerated section of a local grocery store.
Oh, really?
Where it actually crystallized up. But it actually, hers turned out better than mine did with the trying the macro feature.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, that's just, I know the 13, even the main 13 non-pro camera is still significantly better than what my 10 is. So again, when you have a bigger camera with much better light sensing, it makes and just a bigger sensor, it makes a big difference versus even if with software help.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's
Well,
so
before I get
crazy
to,
to. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's so crazy to hear Dave say, how much better the 13 camera is versus the 10. Do you remember, when the 10 came out? I was like the first of us to get it, and like I went out and took some shots. I like went up in like a fire tower and was like shooting pictures, like looking down at my car and stuff, and I like texted them to all you guys, and we were just like wowed and amazed at like the
Mm-hmm.
level of detail and stuff from the iPhone 10. I think it's still a great
yeah.
phone. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, we'll see how the 12 Pro Max is, over the course of the time I have it. But the 10 might be the best phone that Apple has made so far in terms of like how it holds up over time. Like I don't like, I got this because I wanted to, not because I needed to, right? I felt,
Yeah.
like I had the 10 for 3 years, and I just, I kind of wanted the bigger, well, not kind of, I did want the bigger phone and was curious about, some of the newer features and everything. But honestly, the 10 was still ticking all the right boxes for me and really going strong. So, just to, I would love to see that comparison, Dave. Honestly, I would love to see,
Yeah.
a shot from your iPhone 10 and a shot
You know what?
from, Ruth's iPhone
Since,
13, the
since
same
I'm, you know
shot.
what? Since I'm zooming from the phone here, let me see if I can do that. See, I don't know. Okay, let me do photos. Okay, allow access all photos. Hopefully, haven't crashed or killed anything yet.
No, not yet.
Okay, so let me do that, and that one. Done. Okay, go sideways and okay. So, okay, can you guys see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, we
so
can see it now. Yep.
okay, so that is the one that Ruth took. And if you kind of zoom in, I'm gonna zoom in. I don't know if I zoom in, if you guys can see this or not.
Yep.
If it zooms in for you or
Mhm.
not.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see the detail, and this is just the main camera. Remember, she has no zoom. She has no optical zoom. This is all digital zoom or just moving closer. You can see the detail that got picked up there with the crystals. That's just
Yeah. That's impressive.
completely nuts. Yeah, that is just, and you can see on the upper right where the price tag is.
Yeah. Yeah.
The big white. And
Nice
there we
that
go.
she added that for a sense of scale.
But and there's the other part there, and say this one's not as crisp, but still, literally this is, you know, just opening up the door and then seeing this and just
Mhm.
whipping out the phone, taking a picture. And this was mine, and you can see it's not
Yeah.
horrible bad, but you can still see the crystal detail, but the difference between this and this,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the amount of extra detail, and like I said, and you figure even though it's inside a grocery store, it's inside a case. So
Mhm.
it's not the best lit area in the world. And that's one thing I'm noticing. And that's something that'll definitely help with macro is the better light ability. Just because
Interesting.
most of the time with macro, you're so close, you're blocking a lot of times the main lights. Or
Yeah.
you're creating your own shadow, unless you're like outside. But if you're doing something inside, a lot of times you're blocking the light, which just automatically makes it grainier. But the lights, I mean, with her 13, I'm noticing a lot of times she is, when I'm trying to take pictures of things, it's not going into night mode. Just the regular camera can handle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
That
has to
that
be
sensor,
really
the
dark.
bigger
Yeah.
pixels and everything. Yeah.
And it really
Yeah.
has to get dark for it to really need to kick in to dark mode and night mode. And night mode it's just completely blowing me away still.
Yeah.
But like I said, even her one where it's a little bit more gray. No, now honestly, this is one thing I wish Halide would have. The Camera Plus has is the stabilization mode.
Yeah.
And you can tell me if
it
if I'm missing it or not, but I didn't see it.
no, I don't
But
believe it does.
okay, but I like
It's
that part of
dependent on the sensor, like, right? So because
right.
the main camera, whether you call it the wide or the 1X or whatever, that camera on the iPhones, everything from the 12 Pros on up here now, has
Mhm.
that sensor shift stabilization. And
Right.
I think, it's dependent on that, or how that's going to work within the app, I guess. So that's about the only, because they don't have anything built into their app
Right.
specifically for stabilization. So,
Right. Where Camera Plus
so
2 does have that, you can actually do a stabilization option where it will wait for your, even this gets a little annoying because you hit the button, you really have to wait to keep the phone really, really still.
mhm.
So for macro, you're like, okay, I'm just holding it really still. I'm like really close. And it's really, if you're trying to do it by hand, just a little bit of shake and go from, oh, we're almost, and we're back to red. So now we're going to have to wait for you to stop shaking.
Yeah.
But I do notice it makes
Yeah.
a big difference with some of the photos, making sure it's absolutely still before it takes a photo.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right. So let's take a little dive into, Halide macro mode, what it is and how it works here. So it only works on iPhones with a neural engine. So that means it's the iPhone 8 and newer. Um, and if you're familiar with Halide, when you're in the interface, uh, you have to wonder, okay, well, where is it? Well, what you do is you excuse me, tap on the AF button or the autofocus button, and what'll happen is that will, I'm gonna get it right here, that will slide over to the other side. The AF button will slide over to the other side, and it's replaced by an icon of a tulip.
Actually,
And
Greg, real
yeah,
quick. Since I'm on the phone, do you want me just to bring up Halide?
well, I could do it here too.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, super. So I will open up Halide, and it's on the 2.5 times camera right now. There's just the regular 1X camera. Now, okay, it was already in macro mode, so now it's in normal mode here. So as you can see on the above the image preview down there of my my nephew up in a little tree from today, there's an AF button. That's the autofocus button. So if I tap that, it slides over to the right, and you see an icon of a tulip. And little trivia here, it's a tulip because Sebastian de Wit was the designer, and he's Dutch, so of course he's going to put a tulip on for a little icon for macro. So then you press the tulip, it slides over, and now you're zoomed in, and the manual focus, the slider is really more refined, to the point where you've got a lot more room to play with when it comes to like adjusting your focus manually, right? And a little dig at the macro world. There's my Struman macro lens. But anyway, okay, so let me get my notes back up here. Okay, the focus dial. So this phone, the iPhone 12 Pro Max, is using the wide camera, and I'm going to cover my wide camera with my finger, and there you see, there it is. So that's how I know it's a wide camera, and it did this in all the different modes. So there's 3 times, there's 1 times, 2 times, and again over the wide camera covered up. Yeah, so you can see that it's using the wide camera for this whole thing. Now, because Halide doesn't subscribe to digital zoom, like they've never liked that idea, they've implemented what they call macro enhance, which uses the neural engine to upscale these images. And with macro enhance, and I'm going to sound like I'm reading this because I am, they managed to maintain detailed contours at 2 and 3 times the scale. So that's that 1 times, 2 times, and 3 times. And these images, when you take them, what you're seeing in your camera roll is a full res JPEG image. What they do also, though, is they save a full res unzoomed version of your photo in the Photos app. You won't see it right away, but if you go to the macro image in the camera roll and tap edit and then revert, what you'll see is it gives you the original image. So if I took a picture of this lens like this, and then close that and go to my camera roll. Now it takes it a bit to go from Halide into the camera roll. Open it up again. And it's making a fool out of me. So there's the preview in Halide. And as you can see down at the lower left on the file type, it's JPEG. Now, if I hit hike, that's the original photo. Same with the DNG. It shows the original file there. But the JPEG that it gives you for the macro shot, it shows it closer up. So now if I go back to the camera roll, there it is. Now it's there. Now there's the image that I took. And if I hit edit, now I'm in the edit screen. There's all your adjustments. And there's revert in the bottom right-hand corner. I can tap revert and I revert it to original. And bang, there's the original, probably the DNG file. Well, it's the HEIF file or the HEIF file or whatever they call it. But anyway, so it gives you that opportunity to go from the macro JPEG back to the original DNG or HEIF file if you want. So that's basically how it works. And I'm going to be diving deep into this here in a minute. So I'm going to stop sharing that.
I like how you could change the zoom level. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't even notice that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool that it gives you 3 levels of zoom.
Because now I'm going to go out and play with it again because I think, it could get so much closer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Now, so when I was testing this, I was kind of restricted to doing it from my lazy boy. And I'll tell you why. Because my dog decided she wanted to take a nap on my lap and I couldn't move. So what do you do when your dog's sleeping on your lap and you want to test out Halide macro? You start taking pictures of the dog's fur and her little face and things like that. So I said that to show you this. And let me make this window a little bigger before I share it. Okay, and I've even gone so far as to label these. There, you should be able to see my window there with the dog.
So cute. What a cute doggy.
So peaceful.
Yeah, so she was kind of awake, but because I was sticking the phone in her face and whatnot, but so her eyes open a little bit there. But this is Halide macro at 3 times. Now the reason I did this, let me give you just a quick little backstory as to why I did this test, not only for the sake of the podcast, but in the Bloody Legends Facebook group. Of course, Halide macro come up. I think I posted 4 or 5 pictures there, and someone made a comment that it's the same as just the Apple camera, the native camera, but zoomed in 3 times. Like the halide macro 3 times is the same as zooming the Apple camera to 3 times. And I thought, okay, well, with the upscaling that Halide does, I mean, they're not going to call it upscaling for no reason. They're going to call it upscaling because it's doing something special. And as I found out, okay, so let's compare these. This is with the Halide 3 times macro. This is with the Apple camera zoomed to 3 times. So not a lot of difference, right? Like, can you guys see any difference at all, really, in those?
Not really.
No, like it looks pretty comparable, right? Well, nothing doing. I got to dive in deeper and really start pixel peeping here. So what I did was in the camera app, or sorry, in the Photos app, when you're looking at a photo and you double tap the screen, you know how it zooms in to presumably 100%. That's what I did. And this is the Halide version. So that's my whole phone screen there. And that's what the result was of double tapping the screen to zoom it in. So if you're listening to the show and not watching the YouTube video, just open up a photo in the Photos app on your iPhone and just double tap on it, and you'll see exactly what I mean. It zooms it to about 100%. So that's the Halide version, and this is the Apple version. Still not seeing much of a difference. Fair statement?
Yeah. Nothing that really sticks out.
Okay, so what I did was these zoomed in images here, like where I zoomed in, I took a screenshot, and then what I did was I opened up the screenshot and I did the same thing. I double tapped to zoom into 100% or whatever, just to zoom it in again, right? So now I don't even know what like, as you can see over here in the metadata, that it's the screen resolution of my iPhone, 1284 across by 2778 high. And you're starting to see, okay, like where her eye is down across here, the little hairs that come down across her eyes. This looks fairly smooth in the Halide version. You go to the Apple camera version, you see how it's getting kind of jaggedy.
Oh yeah.
That's because there's no upscaling, right? And then let's take this one more double tap. There's the Halide version, and you can see the hair. I mean, we're talking so freaking close here with the, I mean, yeah, it looks blurry and everything else, but I mean, we're zooming in. Like, this is the 3rd time we've zoomed in. And when you look at the Apple camera, it's beginning to pixelate a little bit.
Right.
Whereas with the Halide one, it's still a smooth looking, like, hair on the dog going across her eyeball. And then there's the Apple one again. So nothing doing. I have to compare these macros to a macro taken with Halide in its normal mode with this Struman macro lens that I have. And there's the initial shot. So let's compare that to the Halide macro. Bring it back, and then compare it to the Apple camera. Of course, the Apple camera is pretty comparable to the Halide macro at 3 times. But when you look at her eye and the hairs that go in front of her eye, it looks so much better. Taken with Halide normal, no macro mode, but with the Struman macro lens on there. And then I did the same thing. I double tapped to see that, or I took a screenshot, and then I double tapped to bring it up to zoom it in. You can see how clear it is. And I did it again, and it's still fairly clear. And then I did it again, and you can see that you could start to see a little bit of jaggediness here, but there's no upscaling done. This is just the, the regular normal halide camera with, you bring it back to compare to the halide. There's the halide macro.
Yeah, it's they're not even comparable.
No, and then you go back to the Struman, then you compare it to the Apple camera one, back to the Struman, and then so she was still kind of lazing around on my lap. So I thought, well, I'll try a little bit more. And this is just a picture of her fur with halide, halide macro. And as you can see, it's the computational stuff is so it's working overtime, to get the highlights and shadows and everything, to try to give you that good exposure or whatever. And then this is with the Struman macro lens. And what I did was I tried to get these, I tried to get close to the same spot on her body there too, so you get a good comparison of the hair, but I'm not sure I did. So what do? This lens I have comes with a cap on the backside to keep the backside clean. I put the cap on her fur. And this is a shot taken with halide, but no macro, but just with the Struman macro lens on it. And then I did the same shot with just halide macro. And you can see the difference in her hair or fur. I'm not sure if it's hair or fur on this dog, but she's non-shedding, so I don't know what that means. But anyway, it's obviously computer or computationally exposed and sharpened and all that stuff, more so than here where you've got an optical macro shot. And then of course,
it's a real big difference.
Double tap on that lens cap with the Struman, and then with the halide macro, and then double tap again with the halide with the Struman. Now she was breathing, so that's why I'm saying that this is just a tad blurry. I tried to wait till she was like between breaths, but it was kind of hard to do. But anyway, and then this last one, that is the halide 3x macro, and you can see the difference in clarity between those two. So as much as I appreciate halide and love what they do, you cannot beat optics or glass when it comes to doing macros. I just wanted to point that out. The macro shots that halide produces, they're pretty darn impressive. Like Matt's, your shots were way better than this example here, because they were, real world examples, and they were, of flowers and really good things to get macro shots of. And but I wanted to illustrate the difference between the halide macro with the upscaling and what the Apple camera does. And it's just not the same. I mean, it's just proof in the pudding that halide's macro is better than zooming on the Apple camera. and then I also wanted to illustrate, you just can't beat what you're going to get from a macro lens, whether it's this Struman or Moment or Sandmark or Olloclip or any of those other ones out there that have good glass in them. I mean, I really love this one. I haven't had my Moment out since I've got this lens, but you can't beat glass. So, I'll say that till the cows come home. So that's my kind of deep dive review on the halide macro. Now, what I wanted to add one thing. Now, David, two things here. David Addison, on his own channel, reviewed halide macro, and he does a pretty good review. And when so the focus peaking, the green that you're talking about, Matt, it's upscaled as well, so it makes it kind of difficult to get that focus exactly where you want it, especially when you're doing the 3x. The 1x it's not so bad, but that's something that to keep in mind, is that when you're using the focus peaking, now focus peaking works kind of automatically as soon as you start moving that focus, the scale, as soon as you touch that and start moving it, the focus peaking comes on and shows you the parts that are in focus and whatnot. And as soon as you let go, it goes out. Now, I'm not sure if that can be turned on or off or whatever, but actually, yes, it can be turned off. And you could use autofocus with this too. Just tap on the screen and it'll focus for you. But yeah, so I mean, I wanted to mention that too about when you're using the focus peaking, if you're used to seeing it really nice, fine, thin lines, when you're in this mode, that focus peaking gets upscaled as well. So something to be aware of. Now, before we go off, like before we tie it off with Halide macro, I also wanted to mention that my good friend Don Komarechka, who is the macro king, in my opinion. Now, he does macro generally with his DSLR, but I wanted to show you an Instagram post that he put up. I believe it was earlier today. You should be able to see that, guys? This is done with an iPhone 13 Pro. No extra macro lenses, just a bit of cropping for the composition. So he also provided a behind the scenes shot. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, okay, maybe he used the macro feature of the iPhone 13 Pro, but no, he used Halide macro. And you can see in the camera here, in the photo, in the behind the scenes photo, that it is indeed Halide. And the first thing I noticed was that he had the macro mode enabled. So, and this little rig he's got, this platypod with all these little arms that come up. There's two of them holding little light cubes. He has another, looks like an LED panel further back. And then these two little things that are holding, he's got this rig just all decked out. It's a platypod rig. And, okay, just for the heck of it, I might as well say he's got in his, yeah, in his description here, he has a link for this little rig. And if you use a special coupon code, I'll put a link to this post in the show notes. But if you use a coupon code, you get 15% off, and he does not get anything for that. He wanted to make that clear. He does not get any bounce back from Platypod for this. But anyway, so this is the behind the scenes image showing that he used Halide macro mode. And then this is the image. But now here's the thing. As soon as I saw this, I had to text him and I said, whoa, okay, I see you're using Halide macro for this shot. Well, what he did was, and let me get this text message up that he replied. He said he used the Halide app for manual focus, exposure, and focus peaking. And since the final image was from a raw DNG file, he didn't take advantage of their AI upscaling. He says, but I used Topaz Gigapixel AI as part of the editing process. So he used Halide to get the focus and the exposure and everything set. And then he just took the shot with the normal camera mode, or he may have taken the shot in macro mode, but in the end, he still gets a DNG file of the original scene, not zoomed in, like I showed you earlier with the lens on my desk. And but he also likes to say that while the tool of choice for the image was a phone, the rest of the supporting tools and techniques apply to any camera capable of macro photography. So he does his editing on a pretty high-end Windows computer with excuse me, with Lightroom, Photoshop, whatever. He used that Topaz Gigapixel AI to do his upscaling and stuff like that. So but Don doesn't mess around with macro because, while I'm at it, while I'm talking about Don, his book is there's still some left. go get it. I told him I would plug it for him. He's moving to Bulgaria in a few weeks, and he can't take his inventory with him. Yeah, there you go,
Plug it
Matt.
too.
Matt's got one, and so this is just so full of stuff. He's even got a section on mobile stuff. So, but he's moving to Bulgaria, and he can't take his inventory with him. So, there's going to be a link in the show notes to his website where you can buy the book and take a look at it and see what you think. But it's really really cool because the man's a genius. And so yeah, I wanted to show this because there's room in macro for just using halide for focusing and getting the exposure and everything else you want, and then going ahead and taking your DNG file and doing with it whatever you need to do to get your final image. And that's exactly what Don did there. So pretty cool stuff. So I think that covers everything with halide macro, unless you've got anything you want to add before we move on.
No. And honestly, that makes sense when I was just playing with it and I was trying the different modes, and all of a sudden it zoomed out when I was on, it does, by default, it does the JPEG, and was like, well, why is it zooming out? It's not zooming out. I was seeing the actual non-zoomed in, I don't want to call it zoomed in, but the actual non-adjusted file. That's
Right.
why it looked like it was zoomed out, which makes a lot more sense why it did what it did then.
Yeah, it's Halide's done a pretty darn good job of this, and I think those images I went through with showing the dog and her fur and whatever, I think that just is a testament of how smart those guys are at getting what they can out of the camera sensors on these little phones. And so I mean, I was pretty impressed. So any final words on it, Matt, before we move on?
No, you made me want to get one of those Struman lenses though now.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's gosh, I'm so impressed with it, and it's got the manual focus ring on it. I don't know if you've
I know.
been.
Yeah, I went to their
Yeah.
website and kind of looked at the
Oh, did
ones you
you?
got, and then I had sticker shock as well. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, very cool though. Very cool. Like really, um, the image quality was really, really, really nice. So
Yeah.
the test you did was the test that we needed. Actually, it was the test I should have done but didn't think to do until like earlier today when it was too late. So
Yeah.
that was good, and I would encourage everyone that's listening, if you could check out this show on YouTube so you could see uh, Greg's images. I think this will all make a whole lot more sense. And it's certainly not a knock on Halide or anything like that. I think he did a good job of explaining the upscaling and everything like that. But yeah, the whole thing was super educational. So I appreciate that, Greg.
Well, I'm glad you got something out of it, and I've got my dog to thank, because if she wasn't laying on my lap, I might not have even thought of doing all that. So, but I've also got that guy's comment. His name escapes me, and I'm sorry, but his comment on the fact that he thought the halide macro was just basically the Apple camera's zoom at 3 times, but I mean, it's not. There's definitely
And
some magic going on there from the guys at Halide. So the guys and
yeah,
gal at Halide.
so how I would never do something that basic, right? I
No,
think by now
no.
everybody should know that. And but on the other hand, I could see how, like, if you're just kind of casually comparing the two, it's hard to notice the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh,
That
yeah.
is what you illustrated. You have to dive deep to notice the difference. But um, I think even when you zoomed in at 100%, I could start to see the difference. You know,
Hmm.
so that smoothing certainly makes a difference. But then I think the real shocking thing was seeing the amount of computational wizardry that goes into creating these images versus, what you get optically, with your macro lens. Um,
Yeah.
that's just a whole different thing. Halide macro looked better than zooming, the
Yeah.
native camera, but a lens is going to look better than any artificial macro mode, regardless of the app.
Yeah, yeah. And I did a bit of a comparison between the Camera Plus macro and the Apple Zoom. Um, I didn't keep any data, but I did do like a visual comparison of the two. And I'm not seeing the quality from the Camera Plus app that I'm seeing from Halide. Uh, Next time my dog takes a nap on my lap, I'll do another experiment with Halide or with Camera Plus 2. And if I think of it, I'll try to do Camera Plus 2 Halide in the Apple camera and see how they compare across the board. And it'll be interesting to see. But I kind of go with the argument that Camera Plus 2 is just making use of the magnification, the magnifier app in the iPhone. It's basically the same thing. It looks like the focal length is the same and everything. But I didn't deep dive into the pixel peaking like I did this time. So I'm gonna have to do that, and just to see if Camera Plus 2's is any better than just the Apple camera zoomed in. So that'll be interesting.
Cool.
So I think that wraps it up with Camera Plus, or sorry, Camera Plus, but with Halide macro. Um, Now, something else that I really would like to talk about and even show is, Matt, you've got a new website, and I was really taken aback by some of your photos on there. And I would like nothing more than for you to show us what you've done with your website and show us some of the images.
Oh, wow. Okay. I appreciate that. I don't know if you have it handy or not. I don't even have a web browser open or anything, but if you give me a
Um,
second here, I'll bring it up. Um, yeah, give me 1 second here. All right, I got it. I got it.
okay.
All
There
right.
we go.
Um, yeah, so I don't know. So this came about for like several reasons, like why I decided to make a website. We'll just call it a website for now for ease of the conversation. Um, I would like to sell my photos, right? So, and I'm not too picky on how it could be prints, it could be digital licenses. Um, but I also want to put a very minimal amount of work into doing it. So like years and years ago, I did the whole like coffee shop, like art gallery thing, and you know, it's a big chunk of money up front that you're spending getting prints made and, matting prints and framing and everything. And then, for me, it wasn't a good return on investment. Um, and then I think I had a website in the past, but I don't know, just kind of let it fall by the wayside for whatever reason. And recently, well, maybe over the last like few years or whatever, I've been um, kind of selling a lot of licenses through um, oh, Dave, help me out. We get the pennies for licensing
I
pictures.
am. I
I
am.
am. Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you. So I used to be all about I am. I think on like Tiny Shutter, I always used to say like, you could I'm M Hoffman photo on I am. Um, I haven't actually been on I am in like Lord knows how long. I haven't uploaded anything to that app in like forever. But there's one particular image I have that like it licenses over and over and over again. But it's just like a micro stock kind of thing. You literally just get like pennies for it. It amounts to like essentially nothing. Um, so I don't know. I I have ideas for like some different photography things that I want to do, but they cost money, and I want photography to eventually be like a self-funding activity. I have a lot of expensive hobbies, and none of them have the ability to generate money, except for potentially photography. So this website that you see on the screen here is through a service called Picfair. Um, and honestly, I wish I could talk to you more in detail about it, but I don't know. I don't know a whole bunch of details about it other than I've just been aware of the service for more than a year. Um, and actually, I signed up for it more than a year ago. I think I signed up for it last year, shortly after Comet Neowise made its appearance in the sky. Um, Someone had asked me if they could buy a print of one of my comet pictures, and I was kind of looking around for like an easy way to get a, you know, allow this person to be able to buy a print. And I came across Picfair, so I set up an account, threw some photos on this, and then pretty much forgot about it. And then recently, I was listening to hopefully this doesn't get me in trouble with you guys, but a different photography podcast, and they had Pickfair as one of their sponsors, and they had a 40% off coupon code if you signed up for their premium service or whatever. So I looked into that, and I was like, wow, 40% off. That's quite the discount. So I signed up for like a year or whatever. And um, I'm like, well, I should actually do something with it instead of just, putting a couple images on it and forgetting it about it. So um, I'm pretty serious about it right now. So um, I only have, I think right now there's 19 images on the site, um, and this is going to be a ever evolving project, especially over the next few months here. I intend to dedicate a lot of time to it, adding photos to it, and kind of setting up like albums that are different themes and stuff. So I'll just show you. So like I have it set up right now that when you go to the website, there is a splash page that is just like a single image and this M. Hoffman photo logo thing that I made here. But then when you click through that, it brings you to this page you see here. But you can view albums, and right now I only have two two albums on here. But my intention is to add a lot more. I have a lot of ideas for different themes and stuff, and once I have more albums, I may change it to where when you come to the page, you see albums first, because it'll be easier for people to find what they're looking for, I think, if they could kind of narrow stuff down that way. And then there's like a search thing, which you can type in like keywords or like tags or something. So, like, actually, all these photos have at least 5 tags because it's mandatory when you're uploading them. So you have to put tags in, as to like what the photo is so people could potentially find it, if they come looking for a photo or whatever. So, yeah. So right now it's mostly wildlife, a few wildlife pictures. I have a whole bunch more that I want to get on here, and then I kind of started out with a lot of autumn, fall color stuff because that's the season we're in right now, and I'm kind of thinking like, hey, maybe people are in that mood and might want a print of like some fall foliage or whatever, and this kind of gives me a way too to kind of show off some photography that like never made it to like Instagram or anything like that because Instagram didn't exist when I took the pictures. And there's no reason that just because they're older pictures that they should just never see the light of day, So there's a few on here. Um, Greg, I don't know if you see my mouse, but am I hovering over the one
Yeah.
that's your favorite?
No,
Is
down
it
one and to the right.
this one?
Yep.
Okay. So this photo in particular was shot probably in like 2007, 2006, maybe, out in Arizona. So like, my
Oh,
intentions are
wow.
to have photos from, the Southwest, from my time in New England. Obviously, there will be a lot of Ohio because that's where I live. Just all over. But it's all going to fit themes and stuff like that, and hopefully be nice pictures that people would want to buy to hopefully hang on their walls and stuff. But Greg, you had mentioned that this photo in particular was like, one of your favorites that you've ever seen from me. Um,
Yeah,
this
definitely.
is a this was taken. I'll just tell you quickly about this picture, and then we could kind of move on from my website here. But this was taken in a small mountain range called the Galero Mountains. It's a little bit east of Tucson, Arizona, and there's a canyon. Um, oh gosh, well, I think it's just called Ash Creek, but there might be another name for it. A canyon that just has all these like deciduous trees in it. So the yellow, the trees with the white trunks are aspen trees. The reddish orange leaves are some sort of maple, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just this little grove of deciduous trees that just get absolutely spectacular fall color. And it's one of the few places I would say in Arizona where you get kind of like multicolored fall leaves. Like there's other areas of Arizona that have a lot of aspens, and you get, they all turn gold and it looks real pretty. But this is one of the only areas in the state that I've seen that has like the maples with the reds and the oranges and stuff. And like my wife and I had gone there several times, and it's just amazing. So that picture was shot there. This picture was shot there. Let's see here, and there's one other on here which is from there, which is this photo as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah,
I
it
love I love
really
autumn pictures and
yeah, really was an amazing place. So um, yeah, but I really thank you for letting me show this off for a minute.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's just these some of these are like they're all fantastic. But I just love that one of those, of the cottonwoods, of Ash Creek, and it is just blows my mind. And I didn't know, to be honest with you, I didn't know if it was an iPhone picture or from another camera. But when you said that was like from the aughts in 2000s there, um, I was blown away at the quality of it because I mean, cameras have progressed so much over the years, but to get an image of that quality back then, that's pretty impressive in itself. But the I just love the layers of colors and aspens. I really like aspens. We have a few of them around here too, but that's just an amazing shot. Just amazing.
Thank you. Well, hopefully I'm not overstepping my bounds here, but there may be a link possibly to my website, maybe in the show notes, maybe just this once.
Yep, oh for
But
sure. Yep. Oh
if
yeah.
you're listening, you can find it at mhoffmanphoto.picfair. That's PICFAIR.com. So I would super duper appreciate it if you checked it out. And um, I'm not going to twist your arm to buy something, but I like seeing the site visits go up too. So check it out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, yeah, well, I think that pretty much wraps anything up, unless there's anything else you guys want to bring up quickly before we sign off.
No, nothing that's appropriate for this show. I do have one other thing to tell you guys, but I'll tell you after. It's
Okay.
photography related, but it's not iPhone related in any way.
Okay, that's fair enough. If it's that good, I'll hit record again. Let's put it that way.
It's not.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for the night then. And again, I want to, because it's Thanksgiving, I want to say a big thanks to all the listeners and subscribers and watchers and everybody who helps support the channel with their with their views and listens and all that stuff. I'll be transparent. We're not making any money right now. So, but if it grows to a point where we can make a few bucks, why not? But at this point, we're doing this out of the love of it, and that's how we rolled all through the Tiny Shutter years and everything else. So, thank you everybody for your support and loyalty. And anybody that's here for the first time, welcome, and glad to see you and hear you. And thanks for coming along. So, Dave, let's tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter as ProfPod, and find me on Facebook. I would say just various groups as Dave Podner Jr.
Alrighty, Matt, how about yourself?
Well, I've been very inactive on social media lately, but I'm still on Instagram. You can check me out at mhoffmanphoto, and I'm sure as we get into the autumn season here, the photos will start to make their appearance again. So there will be new content soon.
Cool. And you can find me at on Instagram at McMillan Photo, on Twitter McMillan_photo, and the Artful iPhoneography community at artfulipc.club, and just a bunch of different places where my name might pop up. A couple of different groups on Facebook, but all my online presences are listed at about.me/McMillan. And thanks guys for coming on. Thank you, Matt, for taking time out tonight and jumping in on the conversation. We're always glad to have you, and of course the other guys from Tiny Shutter, they're always welcome too. And I'd like to get everybody on sometime for a big round table about who knows what sometime. So that'll be fun. But I guess that's it for tonight. And thanks everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, thank you.
Have a great week, everyone.